We're live and now recording.
Can we begin with roll call, please?
Sure. Mr. Antonio,
Here.
Mr. Badger,
Here.
Mr. Bleefeld,
Here.
Ms. Kiavachi,
Here.
Mr. Golson,
Here.
Ms. Karionikis,
Here.
Dr. Morris,
Here.
Mr. Walker,
Here.
Mrs. Ginsburg,
Here.
and Mia Bonanis.
Here.
9 present, 0 absent, and 1 student board rep this evening.
Thank you. All right, will everyone please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone, to this April 2nd meeting of the Wissahickon School Board. If you take a look at our agenda, you'll first see listed out our prior meetings. We met on February 26th for a work session, March 4th for both the Curriculum and Technology Committee meeting and a regular public board meeting, March 11th for a Board Racial Equity Oversight Committee meeting. That was our community listening session, March 12th for a Finance Committee budget workshop, and March 18th for our work session. We then list out our upcoming meetings. On April 15th, we have a Health, Wellness, and Safety Committee meeting. On April 15th, we also have our Board Racial Equity Oversight Committee meeting. April 16th, Finance Committee Budget Workshop. April 29th, work session. May 6th is our next regular public board meeting. May 13th, another budget workshop. May 28th, work session, and June 3rd, a regular public board meeting. All right, this evening we have no presentations. So that brings us to our first public comment period. I have no one registered in person. Anyone online?
No raised hands on Zoom.
All right, then we'll move on to the board president report. And the first thing we have is approval to nominate me as our MCI board director's representative for a 3-year term from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2027. 6.2, approval of resolution W224 for the appointment of Timothy Bricker as our business administrator beginning July 2024 through June 30th, 2028. His official start date will be July 2024. And that depends on the official release date from your current district. 6.3 will be also the approval of Timothy Bricker as our board secretary effective July 2024 through June 30th, 2028. Again, official start date to be dependent upon official release date from his current district. And yes, now, so I'm looking for approval of those action items. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, first, any comments or questions? Okay.
Oh, great. I was just going to make a comment that really excited to have Tim join the Wissahickon School District Administration. What I'm also excited about is that he's an actual graduate of Wissahickon High School. So it's fantastic that he's coming back home, so to speak. And he's got big shoes to fill with Wade departing, but I'm confident that he'll do a great job and be a great addition to the team.
Yes, I would echo that. I look forward to working with you, Tim. Any other comments?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Tim. We look forward to working with you. And my favorite part of your resume was the bolded Wissahickon High School graduate under education. So we appreciate that. And we know you're going to do a great job. Thanks so much for joining us.
Looking forward to doing great things together.
All right, if we have no other comments or questions, then all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes.
Right.
Welcome aboard, Tim. Oh, yes, Tim, please. I'd like to invite you to say a few words.
Thank you, school board members and administration. I'm really excited about the opportunity to serve as the business administrator for Wissahickon School District. I'm fortunate to continue the great work that Mr. Coleman has done over the years. I'm looking forward to serving the students, families, faculty, and community of the district. I can't wait to get started.
Thank you so much. I'd also like to welcome your wife, Shannon, this evening.
Yeah.
And Thank you to Wade for your many years of service.
He's not done yet.
He's not done yet. This sort of makes it more official.
When's the party? I want to know when's.
We got
the
several more
party.
months to squeeze them.
All right, moving on to our superintendent report, Jim.
Okay, thank you. Tonight, the one informational item is an update on the district's 6 annual goals. As everybody knows, we have what we call ongoing district priority areas. There are 5 of those, and they span from academic achievement to racial equity and taking a look at opportunity gaps, values for the product that we provide to the community, and also communication. So tonight is update number 2 of 3 for the year on the annual goals. And the first goal, as you may recall, was to finish the 3-year process of examining the viability of later school start and end times in Wissahickon. And that did take place. This goal I'm putting on, oh, by the way, we track the progress towards goals on the website, or rather on board docs. So if anyone's interested in how far along we are in achieving these things, you can see that there. There's also some more details as to backup materials and when goals were discussed in this forum and others. But in any case, even though we didn't switch over to a different school start times, because we found that all of the hurdles involved were too much for one district to overcome by itself as a lone wolf in the region. I am happy to say that we did elevate the importance of sleep and sleep hygiene, and we're not stopping with that. The topic of sleep and how it relates to student wellness is going to be continued in the Health, Wellness, and Safety Committee. We have an ongoing relationship with Wake Up and Learn. So we are not by any means abandoning our emphasis on the importance of sleep. We're just pursuing it in a different venue. The second goal we had for the year was related to positive behavioral interventions and supports, otherwise known as PBIS. And we're about 75% through that. I'm going to call on Dr. Dewan to provide some details as to what's happened so far and what we had to look forward to.
Thank you, Dr. Prisfield. It really has been a tremendous year with this goal. We've established core teams at each of the schools, and we continue to work on plans for full implementation next year. Throughout this year, each of the PBIS school teams have participated in a total of 6 PBIS training modules with the MCIU. Each module provided guidance and direction and just great professional learning for our PBIS core teams to support the implementation in the schools, as well as to be champions of PBIS in their roles. These teams have also worked with Ms. Latour, who is our district level PBIS coach, and she works with the teams to help them in their efforts to solicit staff and student input in the process as they're developing school-wide PBIS plans. The latest focus for our teams and our administration is to focus on creating a data collection and management system, which is an important element of PBIS, which is part of a multi-tiered system of support. Our schools continue to engage in activities from ADL's No Place for Hate to help combat bullying and focus on restorative practices and support conflict resolution. Our trainings around restorative practices have continued this year. So we're feeling great about this goal. We are very proud of the effort and the work that our school teams have done and our leaders have done. I want to say special thanks to all of our school leaders and district leaders, those PBIS teams, of course, Ms. Latour is the district PBIS coach, as well as Mr. Mandel, who is our instructional coach for restorative practices, who's also been very involved in this process. We're just impressed by and grateful for everyone's efforts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was goal number 2. Goal number 3, as you may recall, was to conduct a comprehensive review of long-term enrollment projections and how they match up against capacity at each of the schools. And on this one, we're about 75% done because there's one more piece that's coming. It's actually coming on April 24th, which will be a reminder, or not really a reminder, a review of how school districts use debt issuances and bonds to take care of long-term capital needs. And We'll take a look at our situation here, where we are with our debt capacity, and how that might map up against what we kind of all think about as long-term district facility needs rather than midterm and short-term. So that last piece will take place at what we hope to have a facilities committee meeting on April 24th, and we'll get that out to everybody, and it'll be in this room. Goal number 4 had to do with board docs, and that's a matter, or that had to do with communications, of course, with all stakeholders. It was an efficient way to not only share out what happens in these board meetings, but then warehouse the associated documents. And that one we're about 90% through with. I know that we have the possibly last piece on this one is just to maybe get a few more clicks on the how-to videos that we've created and made available to everybody. If you need those links again, we'll be happy to provide them. And maybe you don't need them because maybe you are already comfortable with all the features of board docs, but it can't hurt to get a little more familiar, and we're happy to make that happen. District goal number 5 was a really important one. It was filling key staffing vacancies in district leadership positions, and to carry out a plan to recruit, hire, retain, and support these employees. So there's no better example of that than what happened tonight when the board very thankfully approved Tim's hire as the new business administrator. This one's about 75% done, because the other piece of this, as you may recall, was our look at the renewal of the Act 93 agreement, which is the WASA, otherwise known as the administrators. And I'm really very, very pleased to say that agreement is in a very good place right now. And that will be up for board review and approval at the next cycle, which is April and May. Then number 6, goal 6, which we're about 75% done with, had to do with a parent and guardian awareness reach out campaign. Dr. Dewan has been quite involved with a number of different ways that we're trying to get the community more involved and help advocate, or help parents understand how they can advocate for their child. So Dr. Dewan, if you would please elaborate.
Yes, thank you. I'll start with reviewing some of the things that we've done this year, and then I'll share a look ahead at a new approach that we intend to tackle before the end of the school year. I'll start with our 4 community conversations events this year. As we know, we had 2 events that were structured as listening circles, hosted by our Racial Equity Oversight Committee. And we had a 3rd event, which was facilitated by Dr. Slizerinsky Poe, and that was a listening and learning session that focused on supporting students who are transgender or gender nonconforming. And our 4th community conversations event is coming up. Will also be a listening and learning session, and the focus will be on restorative practices. That event is scheduled for, so I'll do a little plug here. That event is scheduled for April 17th at 6 p.m. And so parents and caregivers who are interested, please check your inbox for the email invitation that went out. You do have to register for that event no later than April 15th, so that we can make sure we can accommodate everyone who's interested in attending. So those events were coordinated by our Office of Equity and Cultural Responsiveness. So we want to say thank you to Ms. Latour for her leadership. Another avenue was our reigniting the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee, the CPAC. And that was, that's led by our Office of, our Department of Student Services, where they invited parents and caregivers to establish these sort of parent leaders. They work with the parent leaders to identify and plan all the meetings and events that will happen under CPAC. So they had quite a few planning meetings to start with parent leaders who were interested in collaborating. They also had a first general session, which was held at the end of February, and that included a presentation to explain what the CPAC is, and identified who's who in the department, as well as who's who in the parent leaders. The session provided an opportunity for parents and caregivers to also get to know the leaders as well as one another and share their experiences and ask questions. The next session is scheduled for April 30th at 6 p.m. So another plug here. At this upcoming session on April 30th at 6 p.m., there's going to be a panel of administrators and faculty members from our Student Services Department to respond to questions from participants. Parents and caregivers who have students with IEPs, GIEPs, or 504 plans were sent information about this event, as well as a link to submit questions on various topics for the panel to discuss. Earlier this year, you may recall we had the mental health video campaign, and that was created to help ensure our students and families learned about the resources that are available in the district and how to access those resources. That's when we saw the little koala that is an image that's on the doors or windows of spaces where adults have been trained with mental health first aid, but also included information about how to access mental health services that are available in our district. And then the last thing I want to lift up is our social media engagement. So our communications department, Kristen and Elizabeth, they pulled together just an incredible list of information with regard to communications analytics. And they're going to share the full report at an upcoming communications committee meeting, whenever the next communication committee meeting is. So for now, I'll just highlight one because, I mean, the information was quite lengthy and exciting to see, but I'll lift up the Facebook data where they explain that the Facebook page has 5,300 followers, which was an increase by 58% compared to last school year. They outlined the fact that our district's page is above the 75th percentile for the number of individual pieces of content shared. So that means we have a lot of content that's out there for our families to learn about and enjoy. And they have other data to show, like number of clicks in terms of various social media from Facebook to Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, as well as our S'mores newsletters, which gets a lot of views. Our typical WISWatch gets between 8,000 and 9,000 views, and our WIS Wellbeing newsletter gets between 7,000 and 8,000 views. So a lot of good things happening there. And the last thing I'll mention is the looking ahead. Our communications department is going to be working to create a video campaign to further support this goal, which we plan to launch later this spring, and it'll continue through next school year. So more to come on that. That's a little teaser for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So those are our 6. That's a nice update on the 6 for this year. And you might recall that before each school year, typically in the summer, we start brainstorming for things that we'd like to focus on. We don't actually formalize those until the fall. This set was approved actually not until October. So we have the ongoing priority areas that help guide us in terms of what's important to us as a district. And then between now and September, we have plenty of time to decide on what specific things we'd like to focus on in the new year. And it can be the same general areas, the communication, that can be learning, opportunity, social emotional learning, whatever things we feel are important and deserve our attention.
Great. Thank you so much for that report, Jim. Glad to hear we're moving ahead with many of these goals. What sort of comments and questions does the board have? Anyone? Debbie?
Thanks for the update. I'm excited to see the progress. One small request on the communication side, we're doing a lot of, kind of pushing out communication. One thing that I like for us to try to find an innovative way to kind of also have like round table discussions, like how we're doing with the racial equity, like if we can kind of grow that into more forums and more opportunities for that dialogue. I know our coffee talks didn't work out that great this year, but if we could, think through what other opportunities we can create that kind of back and forth communication opportunity kind of presents itself. But otherwise, excited to see all the other things moving along great. Thank you.
I'll definitely make a note of that for our 24-25 goal comments.
Other comments or questions?
I have a question. I don't think I got an email about this CPAC thing. So I'm just trying to figure out, how else are we advertising that to parents? Because that sounds like a really good opportunity. You said there's a panel of administration and faculty to respond to questions. I feel like that's a really good opportunity. How else are we letting parents know? Because I must have missed it. I don't know.
We can certainly look into that, but the information was pushed directly to families with students with IEPs, GIEPs, and 504 plans. So it's not broadly broadcasted because it is a narrow group in terms of the families who would be invited. But yeah. I would imagine between now and the 30th, there'll be another communication. So if you did miss the first one, I'm sure there'll be a reminder at some point.
Who would it have come from, just out of curiosity? Do you know? Like the sender?
I don't want to misspeak, so I can confirm, but I believe it would have gone just through our messaging system, but I can certainly confirm.
Is that through Schoology or how does that work? No.
I got it in my.
You did? Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, Deanne, I also got the email, but I guess because my kids have a GIEP. So as Dr. Dewan said, I think if your kids don't have an IEP or GIEP, maybe you weren't part of the distribution, it sounds like. But the emails I got were from just like the general Wissahickon School District email address. Like a broadcast school messenger email.
Yeah, and it just came out, it looks like the first one I got maybe was February 20th. You're looking back through your emails. I mean, maybe it was something earlier, but it said Special Education Parent Advisory Committee. I think, yeah, just from the Wissahickon general email address. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for that report. And there was nothing in that to approve, correct?
Right.
Okay. All right, Assistant Superintendent report, Dr. Dewan.
Good evening. I don't have any informational items or action items this evening. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, Board Solicitor report, Michelle.
Thank you. I have one action item tonight. It's for approval of settlement agreement between a family, student, and the district. So I'm looking for approval, a motion to approve action item 9.1.
So moved.
A motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Michelle. All right, Board Secretary report, Wade.
Yeah, thank you very much. There's been no changes to items 10.1 through 5, so we're seeking approval of action items 10.1 through 5.
A motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board Treasurer report?
Thank you. There's been no change to the treasurer's report, so we're seeking approval of action item 11.1.
A motion's been made and seconded. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wade. Human Resources report, Danielle?
All right, good evening. Changes from last week's agenda are marked with an asterisk and can be found in bold in the details. These include resignations, appointments, leaves of absence, and extracurricular changes. Items 12.6 and 12.7 are for contract agreements for speech and language services to cover employee absences. All other items were reviewed at last week's work session, and I have no other changes. This evening, I'm seeking approval for action items 12.1 through 12.7. Thank you.
So moved.
A motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Communications Committee, Zeppi?
I did have one thing that just popped into my email yesterday that I wanted to share with the group. 1 second. So on April 4th, Thursday, from 1 to 3 p.m., there will be a PA Senate Education Committee meeting taking place, and they will be talking specifically on PA secondary schools not beginning before 8:15 a.m., starting the 2026-2027 school year. It is a hearing, so there's going to be a number of people present. In addition, it's going to be folks that we know, Dr. Indira Grubahavagla, sorry, Dr. Joanna Fong, etc., and Amy Goldman are on the panel. It's going to be transmitted, like you can watch it if you're interested. If you're interested in getting that information, I'm happy to share that with you. If you wanted to watch it live, I'm sure that it's going to be recorded as well. Again, it's Thursday, April 4th from 1 to 3 p.m. It's not clear to me if they're going to be voting, but there will be a full panel discussion.
Stephanie, why don't you just share out that information with the board, so that if anyone that would like to watch it will have that information.
Sure.
Thank you.
No other items for tonight.
What was that, Jim? Under communications? No. Okay. All right. Thank you, Steffi. All right, then moving on to curriculum and technology, Dan.
I don't have anything. Dr. Dewan, do you want to take it?
Thank you. We have no changes to our items since the review during the board workshop meeting on March 18th. So this evening, we're seeking a motion to approve items 14.1 and 14.2.
So moved.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, we'll move on now to facilities and transportation. Joe?
Thank you. There are no informational items this evening, and the action items for tonight were all reviewed at the work session a couple weeks ago. So for tonight, I'm seeking approval of action items 15.1 through 3.
A motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Finance Committee.
There are no changes from the informational items that were reviewed on the 18th. So we're seeking approval for items. I have to check my numbers here. 16.1 through 5.
So moved.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions?
I think last time, not last week, but last session, you had asked a question, Zeffie, about 16.3 and the waiving of the fee for the baseball camp. Was that you asking about that?
Yeah.
I think you'd asked about like what students were using. Did we have more information on that?
Oh, yeah,
specific
we
event?
got an email back. Oh, maybe it was just me.
No, it came to everybody.
Oh, yeah, so.
I've been out, sorry. My email at
You're
Stephanie
still
has
in
left it.
Espanol time.
I'm still in, different
Yeah.
time zone.
So Deanne, the question that Zebby had was, would the camp be open to Wissahickon students? And the answer that came back is yes. The mailing for the camp is going to be going to Wissahickon students.
So wait, this is like a pretty significant amount of money. Do you feel comfortable with this?
I apologize. Could you please repeat that?
Yeah, I'm saying this is a significant amount of like rental facility fees. Do you feel comfortable with this?
Yes,
Okay, great.
thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Policy Committee, Marshall?
Thank you. There are no informational items. I do have an action item. I'm looking for approval of action items 17.1 through 17.7 regarding the approval of the second final reading of several policy reviews that we've done. There are no substantive changes. However, There were a couple of typographical errors that were changed along the way. Thank you to Steve for doing that, to seeing them, finding them, letting us know. Those are the only changes. Other than that, nothing substantive has changes, and so therefore I'm looking for approval of 17.1 through 17.7.
So moved.
Second?
A motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Racial Equity Oversight Committee, Paul?
Thanks, Amy. There are no items this evening.
All right, thank you. Health, Wellness and Safety, Rosetta?
Items and no informational items, except that we will be having a meeting on April 15th.
Okay, thank you. Report of board representatives, first extracurricular, Marshall.
There's nothing to report this evening. We will be having a meeting coming up in the next couple of weeks, and I'm sure I'll have something to report then.
Okay, and I also don't have an MCIU report this evening. North Monco, do we have a report? No. PSBA?
I got an email today reminding our district to renew its PSBA membership. Wade, did you get that email, or Katie? You're on it. Great. The second item is about a window for boards to submit proposals for consideration for PSBA's 2025 legislative platform. That's open April 1st to June 28th. So that might be something we want to discuss as a board if there's something that we want to take to PSBA.
Can you send me the platform? I don't think I've seen that.
I haven't either, and I emailed
I've
Jamie Thirst about
tried
it.
to find it on their website. I
Yeah.
just can't seem to figure it out.
I
So
know.
If we can just try to,
I'll email her again and see if she can send me something more concrete.
and as a board, I feel like if we feel strongly about things, that is one thing we should exercise, we're entitled to it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that comes to my mind, the two things are gonna be special education funding and highlighting the fact that Pennsylvania is 48th in the nation for state funding and public education, which is pitiful. And then the second thing for me would be trying to support that bill for later school start times so that we're all on the same page, making it just a little bit easier for everyone. And to put our students first, finally. So that would be my two things. Does anyone else have anything they would suggest?
I mean, I agree with that. I also would like for more funding from a mental health perspective as well,
Yeah,
especially for the secondaries.
that I know is on the PSBA platform.
Is
this
it?
year. Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, funding always is. It's true.
What is the time frame to make those submissions again?
It's April 1st to June 28th, so we have a little bit of time.
If we can brainstorm if anyone has anything. we
Yeah,
could bring
just
up
think about
again
it.
and
We can
circle
talk
back
about
the
it
next
again.
Set of
Yeah.
meetings, yeah.
And Dr. Dewan actually had sent us a couple of thinking items for when we're in Harrisburg. We could relook at those items and see
Yeah,
how we could dovetail them into the platform, if it makes sense.
And-
oh, you know what, Duffy? I have a PDF of the 2024 legislative platform. I'm gonna email that to the whole board right now, so you can just see it.
Great. That was actually going to be my request as well.
You got it, Joe, coming your way. And then that's all for PSBA, and I have nothing for the Employee Relations Committee at this time.
All right, thank you so much, Dan. All right, then that brings us to our second public comment period. And no one in person, no one online either, okay? Then that brings us to board comments. Do any of my fellow board members have comments this evening?
I just have one question. Wade, I want to make sure the community knows that we didn't forget about our project over here in the woods with, can you give an update on that for us, please, just where we are?
Yeah, the facilities meeting that Dr. Crisfield mentioned, that'll be an agenda item, and Rick's going to come give an update and make sure the board is supportive of the project.
Okay, and then from there, do you know an approximate timeline of what that would look like? Are we thinking by next school year that's something that could happen, or would it take longer, do you feel?
I'll make sure Rick covers that. I don't really know that he's going to control all the balls, but he can certainly provide a general time frame for what he thinks will happen.
Okay. All right, maybe I'll have to get Tim up to speed on that project then. Okay, thanks, Wade.
Any other comments? Yep, Steve.
And given the comment at the last work session around the turf field access, was that going to be reviewed by the facilities committee also?
That's a good idea. We don't have an answer yet. So if we do, then we will give an update.
Great, thank you.
Should say that I know of.
Anyone else? All right, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Right, all those in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed? We're adjourned.